Hi everyone, Chris J here from Blue Coat Foundation. On this episode, I sit down with David O'Brien. David and I work together on patrol in Los Angeles, in the area known as Koreatown. I've had the privilege to push an A-car with him, as they say, and during our 12-hour shifts, we always seem to find ourselves in these deep philosophical talks about free will, religion, leadership, culture, etc., and the list just goes on and on. We definitely think we could save and fix the world. David's wife, Natalie Blue, is a talented country music singer who played during our live podcast with Sheriff Nueva. We have some of her performances on our YouTube channel as well. She's an amazing talent. You should check it out. We hit a lot of great topics and do a lot of juxtaposing with military and law enforcement as well. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed making it, and I truly hope you find value in it.
Cue it up.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Looks professional.
Yeah, I like it, dude. That's the most professional thing on this set. I like it.
Except for your suit.
Except for my suit.
Your suit's pretty professional.
You know what? I actually put this suit on just for your podcast. Yeah, I said the last and only time I was here was when Sheriff Nueva was here.
Yeah.
And my wife, Natalie Blue, performed among other people performing.
Yep.
And what's really cool is this type of environment fosters people to come out of their shell, I think, because you're already in that situation where you're letting your guard down just to talk about something that kind of you have to be vulnerable about.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. She played a song that she was always hesitant. I think you heard. Yeah, she was very hesitant to play it, and it's the first time she played it. Yeah. And I think she cried. And I think even a few people in the room cried.
Oh no, there was people in tears. I think Sticks was.
Yeah.
Was he here? Oh no, he was listening. Who was? Somebody was.
I think. Oh yeah, you're right. He was listening in the car. He was here and left and listened in the car.
Yeah, there was somebody back there like all out tears.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
But just stuff like that. Obviously, I know the story behind all that. But just people willing to be vulnerable and share their.
That was a really good turnout because there wasn't a push. There wasn't a push for. Let's get this place packed. It's a small bar.
Yeah.
And just. Obviously, Villanueva has some weight,
right?
Right. Not literally, sir, if you're listening.
Wow.
Meaning his influence. So that alone just brought people out, which is cool. And I mean, this is like you said right here. It's chill because if we do it in the studio or in my office or sometimes in my apartment, my apartment's fine. We just serve some drinks, everybody relaxes. But here, just calm people down a little bit.
Definitely.
Because everyone's like, what do I say on a podcast? I don't know. Let's just talk, bro. Tell me about horses.
Horses?
Yeah.
All right. So, my daughter and my wife know more than I do, but
you're a proud owner of a horse.
I am. I guess I don't know, would you call it the adopted father? I don't know.
Are you jealous?
No.
Is there less attention to you?
Well, yeah, there is, but I'm not jealous.
Stop it. You can say it. You talked about being vulnerable.
I'm not jealous. It is not my dream as much as it is my wife's and my daughter's, but it's been really cool. I actually, in my little time around the horse, and then obviously my girls.
See, you don't even call the horse by its proper name. You're just like the horse.
So actually, here's the thing about horses. They're like dogs, but they're not. Okay, so this is what I mean. So they're like them in that they're the greatest animals in the world.
Okay.
Because they're like man's or woman's best friend, right? There's like an emotional connection. It's not just, this is my pet, right? You feel bad when you go places without them. When you don't check on them for 24 hours, you really feel bad. If you go 48 hours, you're like, wow, I'm the worst. But the thing with horses, which I didn't know this until we got one, is their name isn't as big of a detail as it is with the dog. Like if I called your dog the wrong name, you'd probably be slightly offended. Like as if I called your own child the wrong name. Like that's not my dog's name.
Yeah, there'd be a bar fight in here.
Like even if I just said Jack Blue.
Jack Blues, like the music.
Why would you mess up my dog's name? So you don't respect my dog? So if you don't respect my dog, you don't respect me, right?
Right. And then
right? But with horses, right? But with horses, like the horse that we got is 15 years old, I believe.
Okay.
And they say with horses, maybe they know their name, maybe they don't. 15-year-old horse. Maybe she knows her name, maybe she doesn't. And if she doesn't really respond to the name that she may have, you can just come up with your own name. However you want, in whatever way you can change it. There's people who have horses for years and years, and they change the horse's name just like that. Boom. I'm going to change the horse's name.
I mean, a name is like a human construct.
Right, but dogs respond to names. I'll say my dog's name. Now, I don't know if he knows it's his name.
Well, they know.
Right. I don't know if they know it's their name or if it sounds like a command to them. But with a horse, like you can, and what's interesting with horses is anyone who like bets on horses, you might know this, but like horses, they take part of their father's name and part of their mother's name, and that's how they come up with their name.
Really?
And then sometimes they'll have like an abbreviation of that is what people will call them.
So what's your horse's name?
So I don't remember what her actual name was prior to, but we renamed her Lyra.
Oh,
like Lyra.
Okay, so it's not a big deal. You took her name away. You didn't take her identity away, and the horse is all sad.
Right.
No.
So she's trained. So she has commands.
Yeah.
Almost all horses know the same commands, and sometimes it's verbal. It'll be like, "Whoa!" That's like the universal for stopping a horse. It's like hitting the brakes. Whoa.
Interesting.
But also, and how you cinch your legs together.
Yeah.
There's a stop or a go fast. And how you pull the reins, which way you pull them, how much pressure, how little pressure.
So do you feel that connection with your horse, or are you just like, it's my kid?
I will say that
there seems to be a divide in your emotion, emotions here.
Yeah, I don't know what the right word is. I respect animals, specifically horses. I have a ton of. I don't know what the word is. I don't think the word's benevolence, but it's something like that. It's like a high level of respect towards horses, but specifically our horse, like I've only met her maybe 3 or 4 times, but the last time I was around her, I got to like petting her, and then as I was petting her, she like turned her head towards me, which is like, like a sign. There's a certain amount of trust that comes with that. So I can and that was just like a small dose, and like the very first time my daughter Jolie met her, she was like that to her instantly, and that was one of the biggest reasons why Natalie, my wife, decided to get her, was because she's sweet, and they described it's not just her demeanor, she's like even her eyes, she's like she has sweet eyes.
I don't know what that's like seeing. I can see a dog's emotions, but a horse must be like.
Oh, and that's another thing is a lot of people, when you get a dog, you get a puppy.
Yeah.
With a horse, often you're getting an adult horse.
Right.
You're going to want to get a horse who's already trained unless you really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I know you have experience with training dogs.
Yeah.
But it's not likely that you're just going to go get an 8-year-old dog.
Right.
And rename your 8-year-old dog.
No. No.
and instantly have a connection with them.
But you don't have your horse like in the backyard.
No, but we would like to eventually. Oh. Yeah, because we live in horse.
So do you take them out to walks or what?
Well, yeah, there's all different things you can do with horses. Really, you want to build a bond quickly. So you really, honestly, just quality time. So like what Natalie likes to do is she likes to just go there and just hang out with her sometimes.
Interesting.
It's
probably peaceful.
Oh, yeah. Oh. She's actually, one of the things she's really looking forward to is getting like a beach chair, a lawn chair, putting it in the horse's stable, reading a book, and just sitting there while the horse is right next to her. Like, that's the type of bond that you're forming with a horse. I want to do
that. I do that with Jack Blues.
Perfect.
And a tobacco pipe now.
Yes, and a tobacco. I don't think she has a tobacco pipe, but she has a book.
Yeah. So, now that you have some experience with your own horse, what do you think about the mounted unit in modern day policing? You think it's like just showmanship?
So
does it have its place?
Actually,
or do you think it's cruel?
No, I don't think it's cruel at all. So, and actually, to be honest with you, I think I used to think it was cruel. I think I used to think that dealing with animals like that. I'm trying to find a picture here, but I don't want silence while I'm looking for it. But I was actually, here it is. This is me on a LAPD mounted horse.
Okay.
I didn't tell you I used to work the mountain unit?
No, you didn't.
Okay, I didn't.
I wouldn't know that.
No, we were doing that beach detail over in Pacific.
Yeah.
And this was before Natalie bought the horse, but I knew it was just a matter of time that she was going to get it.
And you asked what everybody wants to ask, can I get on the horse?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I just said, can I get your picture? And the mounted officer said,
jump on.
I can do you one better. Get on the horse.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. So all these times that Natalie and Jolie were doing horseback riding lessons, which was like once a week for like a year, I had never been on a horse all that time. And then the mountain unit, that was my first time getting on a horse. Huh. And this was only, I think it was over the summer. And it was really cool.
So what do you think? They have...
I can't...
It seems like community service type.
So, okay. So two thoughts. One, what's crazy is up until cars were invented, they were a means of transportation. They were probably the number one means of transportation.
I get that. I mean, they're using, like, battle in the war.
And then, And then number two, they used to put armor on their horses. And then number two, this was where I changed my mindset, because I did think, like, if we don't need them anymore, then is that like some type of animal abuse? Yeah. But horses need to be worked. This is something I found out recently. So there was I won't name names, but there was a horse that died recently, young. And the reason the horse died is because, this happens all the time, it's because this horse was no longer getting worked.
No job, no status.
Just sitting in the stable. So what happens with them, I guess, is I don't know the exact science behind it, but they get like colic.
I'm not sure.
So it's something that happens to babies too. But
sounds familiar.
Yeah, it has to do with like their intestines or something. They get all like tied up or something, and because they're just standing still.
Yeah.
So they have to be. That's why you hear someone say, "Oh, I have to go work my horse." So there's many ways you can do it, but at the end of the day, you just have to get your horse moving.
Yeah.
When it's in a tiny stable and they have nothing to do and nowhere to go, especially if they're by themselves, it's really bad.
That's the same thing with dogs. I mean, I'm not a dog trainer, but if you give them a job,
yes,
they're the happiest in the world. So so you choose the type of breed for your lifestyle and give it the type of job it wants to do. That's the best kind of thing. Yeah. Thank you. So does it have a place, or is it phased out?
Does the horse have a place?
Mounted unit.
Oh, yes.
I just feel like when they are. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. They're very, what's the word? Intimidating in a skirmish line.
Yes.
But I feel bad when the horse is getting beat up.
So do you see how horses are trained? That's how, like, it's almost similar to, that's why I say it's similar to dogs in a lot of ways. Do you see how canines are trained?
Yeah.
I think canines, maybe they endure harsher training than horses do, but it's what they need to perform their job well. Yeah. It's just like us as humans. If you're in any elite unit, you're not like sitting on the couch.
Like patrol?
Even more than patrol. But yes.
Whoa.
Yes. Well, I mean, let's be honest. We're not as elite as we used to be because our standards have dropped and how we can train. But elite, so Metro, or maybe something more elite than Metro, SWAT, or in the military, our specialized units. Like the amount of physical discipline you're going to go through, and then mental discipline and emotional discipline and all that. Yeah. I think it's the same applied with animals. And actually, I think it takes less for them to get there. And then once they have it, they command and they're good.
Yeah, that might just be the softy in me. So the first time I went fishing, the night before, I had a scary dream that I was humaned into the ocean by a fish fishing me.
Okay. Did you have gills?
No, no. You know how we fish them?
Oh, you were human. I get it. I get it.
Human into the water.
Okay, so you drowned. So you drowned. Yeah. That's like, okay, human as opposed to fish. Okay, yeah, I get it.
So maybe that softy part of my brain's like, the horses, they're going to get hurt. Because we'd all rather see well, we don't want to see animals get hurt, right?
So horses have to be worked.
Yeah.
So that should change your mindset about things.
Okay.
So they have to have a job.
It's so
if they don't have a job, their existence they will fail to exist. They have to have a job. Now
it's badass when they're out there to see them, and I actually see money in it. Guys like ride RCs or like jumping off. Yeah. Like, they're working.
Now if they're wild and free, then they're just gonna run around wild and free. But I don't know if you noticed, but in I think it's in Colorado, somewhere in the center of the country, and it's really bad in I want to say New Zealand or Australia, where they're literally hunting down horses and killing them because of overpopulation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So one of the solutions to that would be to domesticate them and work them.
Yeah.
And there's many forms of work that horses can have.
And I'm sure I hear it's like huge therapy.
Yeah.
Like therapy horses.
That's why Natalie has fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
Besides music, it's like her second love. And then Jolie's just, it was like she was born with it, dude. It's like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like she's always, since she was a toddler, she had horse toys, she'd draw horses, she'd watch horse movies.
And you got your daughter a horse. You're a good dad.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. What's the horse unit in the military? Is that the cavalry or something?
Yeah.
I could see you doing that.
That would be fun.
But what did you do in the military?
Well, actually, what I wanted to do is not what I did. But I still enjoyed it. What I wanted to do was go in as infantry because I knew this was my end goal.
Okay.
Figured it'd be a good stepping stool.
Yeah.
Not even really like I wanted to have war stories, as cool as war stories are. It was more of just like I figured it would be a really good stepping stone, and it would get me in the mindset I needed to be in to face and see the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest challenge to becoming a good patrol officer is being able to face any fear you might have. And I figured that would be the best route. So I actually went to a recruiter, and he told me, it was weird. He's like, we don't have any infantry spots, which is that'd be in my head it'd be like, oh, we don't have any. There? Yeah. In my head it'd be like, but in my head it'd be like going to the police department, say I want to apply, and be like, okay, but we don't have any patrol spots.
Right. What? Right. What? It doesn't make sense.
Okay, so anyway.
Oh, that was our world.
I'm sure some people would love that.
Yeah.
So, so I was like, okay, well, I still want to do this. I had made my mind up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, what's the closest thing you can get me? And he's like, I can get you artillery. Okay, well, all right. I guess I'll do that. He's like, and I wanted to leave now. Like, I wanted to join now.
Were you like 17 or something?
No, I was actually 20. I think I was 20. I had already finished college.
Okay.
And he's like, I can get you. I think he said I can get you out in 8 or 9 months. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. All right. But I made my demands clear. So then, just a few weeks later, he calls me. He goes, hey, I got good news. Actually, I got doubly good news. I was like, okay, what's the good news? He's like, I can get you out of here in 3 weeks. I was like, sweet, say less. He's like, and I got a second thing for you. He's like, I can get you a $10,000 signing bonus. I was like, oh, all right. Where do I sign? Icing. He's like, but there's a catch. I was like, okay, what's the catch? He's like, you're going to have to switch jobs. I was like, okay, to what? He goes,
take care.
You're going to work in communications. So, okay. So what that ended up being was radio communications. So I was a radio technician. So I was basically...
So are you that little soldier toy, the one that has the backpack and the mic?
That's a radio operator. I wasn't even that. I fixed his toys. So I was Radio Shack for the Marine Corps.
Radio Shack.
Radio Shack was I think Radio Shack might have had a store or two open when I joined.
Okay.
PC Shack. Richard. I don't know if they have those out here.
PC what?
PC Richard, they have those out here?
I don't know. Never
PC Richard and Son?
Is that a
it's probably East Coast thing.
Okay. So you pretty much got vocational school to work on radios. You still have those skills or what?
I remember a little bit of it.
Yeah.
It was like basic electronics. It was the school I went to.
Okay. What year was this?
This was 2011. 2011 into 2012. It was basic electronics, so it was like kind of the basic level stuff that an electrician would learn. How to trace power, how to trace signal, how to solder, blown fuses, the simple stuff that you'd see in a user manual if your radio stopped working.
I know none of that stuff. So how close did you get to what you wanted as far as kind of being exposed to things? Where did you get...
I mean, I got good training.
Yeah.
Good training that carried over to the police department, but I mean, I didn't see wartime. I didn't,
Right.
I didn't get into any shootings.
No.
Whereas a lot of the military people that share interview that are a few years older than me or joined a few years before me, they have plenty of combat action.
Yeah.
So I joined at the end of the war. When I joined, it was Afghanistan was they were getting ready to pull out, I believe, and they actually
still over there, right?
Yeah, we were, but it was like we had a small contingency left over there. So once I got to my the main area where I was going to stay at, they asked me, which was weird. They didn't order me. They asked me. Usually, military, it's orders. Yeah. They asked me, "Would you like to go overseas on a deployment?" And I was like, "A boot." I had just finished school.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Do I have a choice?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's why we're asking you." And the only reason I said no is because Natalie and I had just got engaged.
Aww.
So we already had our wedding date planned, and it was coming up in a few months. We had already spent the money. So I was actually shocked because I was thinking, you get orders, you get orders. That's how the military is. Like, you don't go, I'm not going.
And you're ready for that.
Yeah, I was ready for it. I knew what I signed up for. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I signed up for the military, I was single. So it's like my world changed completely in that first year.
When Cupid got you.
Exactly. And it changed everything.
But, so where were you going to get sent?
Afghanistan.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So
I was going to say,
a bunch of my buddies
Japan,
went.
Korea, so you could take Natalie with you.
A bunch of my buddies went, but the thing is this might not make sense, but they ended up being what's called a working party, which is basically a cleanup crew.
What are you cleaning up?
They were pulling out. It was the last year of the Marines being in Afghanistan. So all it was is they were a cleanup crew to clean up whatever stuff we had there, which obviously what happened was it under President Biden these last few years ago where that really bad catastrophe happened in Afghanistan.
You mean the quick pullout?
Yeah, that. Yeah. But they had done like a formal pullout like 10 years before that, and to pull out our troops. So when we pulled out our troops, that's what they were there for. They were I think they were maybe just finishing up training the Afghanistan army. But it basically ended up missing out on nothing is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One of my buddies ended up getting a combat action ribbon because a mortar hit a few hundred feet away from him and he fell out of his computer office chair.
Okay.
And he got a medal for that. Hey, because he was in combat.
I don't mean to laugh at that. I mean,
yes.
I'm just.
Well, the reason we would laugh
at it out.
Yes, the reason we would laugh at it is because to everyone that's a joke. To all the people that actually got a combat action ribbon, you would have seen combat action. But because the wars had died out so much, and a mortar hit their base, and he got knocked out of his seat a few hundred feet away, and then it was like, hey, here's your.
It's funny to hear.
That was the only thing I even heard that I could potentially miss out on. Other than that, they said I didn't miss out on much. But it still would have been a good experience.
What movie was I watching? It reminded me a lot of some of our talks. I can't remember the movie, but these guys were preparing for battle for a long time. It was during a Desert Storm.
Huh.
And they were just amped up they were snipers for battle. Nothing happened. At one point, he wanted to take this kill, and they're like, no, you're not going to do that kill. And he was fucking pissed. Remember? Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
And then at the end of it, they just go bananas. They just start shooting in the air, yelling, and just letting all that pent up stuff out because they're just trained to fucking take for that kill. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I thought about some of the talks we've had, and us, like all the training, a good cop, all the mental preparedness that they do out there. Even if you don't do this crazy mental preparedness, you're still always ready for something.
Right.
For 20 years, ready.
Yeah.
And nothing happens. Like, what is that? Like, what happens to that energy?
Yeah.
It's not healthy, or you end up almost like, because the ultimate thing for us is the shooting, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah. So you almost like want to get in it, or when somebody else does, you're like, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me, like, I want to know.
Right.
You know? I don't have no end, result thing to this. What I'm saying is just, like, it's trippy how we have to, like, want to be ready for something.
Right.
That we almost hope never happens.
Yes.
You know? So when you transitioned over to the police department, did you was that the same feeling between military and being a police officer, or was it way different?
It's similar in some ways and different than others. It's the horse-dog comparison.
Okay.
Obviously, I was a civilian before I was military, but then once you're military, it's like you never go back. You can never go back to seeing things the way they were. There's no normal, like, that's why PTSD is such a big deal. And I wasn't even in combat zone, and I had to change. I had my mentality changed a lot, some of which was on purpose, and some of it was just straight up brainwashing, because that's what they do, to teach you to what the saying is immediate, instant obedience to orders. That's how you're trained. So they take away your food, they take away your sleep, they take away everything until you do the things they tell you to do, and you know, that's how brainwashing works. But yeah, it was just once that lifestyle was my lifestyle, then going back to being a civilian was like, I don't want to say less than, but it just seemed less important, less I don't know. Well, it's definitely less structured, but I could definitely see why a lot of especially lifelong military people, how that transition's really hard. So joining a police department, or even maybe fire department in some ways, is like you still living here, right? Like you're talking about how it's like 20 years, oh, something's gonna happen. It's like, it's because you're living here, you're elevated.
Yeah.
Even though once you kind of master it, it's not at the forefront like it is for P2s. In the first 2 or 3 years of my career, it drove Natalie insane when we'd be walking through the mall, and I'm paying more attention to people than her because I can't help myself. You know, you see that all the time with new P2s. So we still do that, but we learned how to put it on auto in the background. So we're still doing this, but I can now have a conversation with you while I'm scanning all the time and looking for threats. And so, in a way, the transition it was an easier transition than just going back to being a civilian, because you get to take a lot of those tools. Scanning, looking for threats, facing your fears, running towards the fight instead of away from it, figuring out how to separate your personal life from your work life. Like, these are all tools that you have in the military that you also have in the police department.
So your skill set, pretty much.
Yeah, your skill set, of which you'd have to hone if you want to have a successful career and have a successful home life, because they can't really intertwine too much. Some people intertwine them, but I don't really like to.
Yeah. Man, I thought of 1,000 things as you were telling me that. That's all like really heavy, important shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that transition, it's almost like you're, at the end of the day, like our jobs, even though a lot of us don't try to define ourselves by our jobs, it's really, it's our kind of our part of our purpose and how we navigate. So it's almost like that purpose was just transitioned over.
I mean, but you think about it, it's crazy when you really break it down. Like, military, let's say I had gone infantry, which is what I want to do, right? Infantry, patrol, very similar.
Yeah.
Biggest difference is on infantry, you might come up against 1,000 riflemen. Patrol, you're going to come up against one shooter, one man with a knife. That's more likely the case. If you ever come across it in your 20 years.
Pretty short battles.
Yeah, very short battles, last a few seconds. But you can get ambushed in both, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I talk about the ambush is we're hanging out here right now. Tomorrow we could both be shot and killed in the line of duty.
Right.
So then going back to, especially like, oh man, I mean, I can't speak to what it feels like for your experience of having to take the life of someone else, but I would think worse than that is losing your partner. I don't see how that could not be worse, because it's someone you have a personal, intimate relationship with, an emotional connection with, a bond. So I think for that, then to just the next day either go back to work, or you're at the grocery store shopping for groceries, and you're not even there. You're physically there, but mentally you're somewhere else. So to me, that would be the hardest part. But so I say that in that that to me, that was the hardest part of coming out of the military, was like just going back to the civilian life of, it's basically no longer tomorrow's not a guarantee. Yeah. So tomorrow's not a guarantee for civilians either, but it's much more of a guarantee for them than it is for us.
Right. I should be taking notes. I just want to jump on 1,000 things you're saying there, which already have passed my brain.
But figuring out a healthy transition. It's just like horses, going back to horses.
Yeah.
So horses and dogs, but horses specifically, they're social animals. Mm-hmm. They don't do well when they're by themselves. So usually horse owners will have at least 2 horses.
Yeah.
So similar to us, it's like having Natalie, among other people in my life, people like you and other friends at work too. It's like huge having people to like get the stuff off your chest.
Yeah.
Because if it just sits there and you don't have anyone to get it off your chest, it can only get worse, not better.
And that's something that I've brought up before with getting into an officer-involved shooting. What we're told and what the culture is, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it.
Which makes it worse.
And your company tells you don't talk about it.
Yep.
They scare you shitless. Only talk about it with us, with an attorney, with BSS, which is our agency psychologist.
Yes.
But then our friends amongst our work, they're also very hush-hush, even though they're checking on you. So they're like, they know, don't talk to me about it. You all right? Just don't talk to me about it. But you okay? But don't talk to me about it.
Yeah.
You know? So depending on the situation, everybody deals with that stress different. And then you're dealing with, you just maybe you just took a life. Maybe that person looked at you when they took their last breath.
Yeah.
And you're not sharing with their non-police family and friends.
Right.
And maybe now you have to sit with that shit all by yourself.
I mean, in the moment, the adrenaline and the training, you're not thinking about those things in the moment. But as hours turn into days, turn to weeks, turn to months, turn to years, I don't know how that couldn't hit you.
Yeah, no.
I know it's hit you. I can't imagine it wouldn't hit everybody else too.
It's a lonely place, and it's not like, oh, poor me, I'm so lonely. But it's just like looking back, and like that's the worst thing to do to a subordinate, a police officer in an agency who you say you care about. Yeah, that's the worst thing.
Yeah,
and
the stigma.
You just can't talk about it. How do you not talk about it?
Yeah.
Only to our psychologists. Like, what the heck's going on? And so I think I need a horse. No, I'm just kidding. But I forgot where I branched off with that, where that came from. But
you need an outlet. And whether it be a person or an animal or a hobby or a religion, whatever, you need an outlet.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an outlet, I don't see how it won't.
And speaking to, like, you're saying, like, you didn't think, you just kind of acted like a large portion of my incident, I was literally like a robot.
Yeah, you're on auto.
I was sitting inside my head, sitting on my eyeballs, watching myself making these decisions.
Yeah.
I'll get some accolades on how I reacted and the things I tried to organize during it. You did great, blah, blah. I can't say thank you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't. I was just watching myself.
Yeah.
I didn't make a decision to, let's make a team. I didn't do none of that. I was just watching myself. It's a trip, right? It's a trip. I remember seeing on the corner, this officer standing on a corner. I'm like, wait a minute. I think this is his area. He's over there watching. I'm kidding. I mean, but there's a lot there.
When you think about it, though, like, I know you're a deep thinker like I am, and it's gotten us different places in life, but similar places in life.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, I like to extrapolate thoughts, right? So if you take the thought of, the last thing I wanted to do was take someone's life, but it happened nonetheless because of ABC reasons, right? Okay, now that it's happened, this is how I feel. Imagine if you're a sniper or you're in a specialized unit in the military. You guys are surrounded. There's 30 of you. There's 300 of them, right? You get a head count. Let's say you get 30 people.
Yeah.
And then a month later, you're home and you're shopping with your daughter, and she's crying because you won't pay an extra $3 for a larger size pizza.
Yeah, if you're suppressing shit, that's gonna bubble in different ways,
right?
And it might bubble to your daughter,
right? So that's why I think it's so huge. One, to be able to separate the two.
Yeah.
So you got to have an unwind switch, and two, you got to have an outlet.
How important is
because you're not going to talk to your daughter about what happened a month ago,
right?
Maybe when she's an adult, if you can even put it into sentences and into words, and you're allowed to.
What's the mantra you said that they said? Obedience at all costs.
Oh, instant obedience to orders. That doesn't mean you have time to question. You don't question. You get an order, you do it. And in the military, you can literally be put in jail for not following an order, depending on what the order is.
Based on what the military is the purpose of the military, that's necessary.
Yes.
Right? That's necessary.
Yes.
There's just no transition out.
Right.
You're on your own.
Right.
We train you guys, robots. All right, you're done. Your time is done.
Yep. Now we're gonna kick you back into society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely doesn't play out in police work. But should it? Based on mindset with deadly force.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the mindset of deadly force now is fear, don't do it. Liability is bigger.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a thin line that's being walked. I understand. I totally understand, and in many ways agree with the mentality of last resort, last resort, last resort. Community policing. Like, I get that. I never want to take a life, but if that's all you think about, and you never think about when it's time to go, I can't hesitate. If that's all you're thinking about, and you hesitate, the phrase "hesitation kills," and that's how your partner dies. That's how the citizen down the street dies, because of your hesitation. So it's a really, really, really thin line, and if you wait till that thin line gets crossed, you live with regret. If you go too early, you might not live with regret, but the system's going to come down on you saying you shot too early. So it's like you have to be the judge of that thin line. You have to be able to articulate it, and then you have to live with it.
So how do we make the healthiest place for a patrol cop with all that? How do we? What's missing right now that we don't have to be able to have young cops have that mentality, coach them through it, etc., or have them understand that?
Yeah, we just got to figure out how to strike a balance. How to strike a balance of you're not going to hesitate when the moment is there. However, you're going to consider A through Z factors before you do it. That's easier said than done. But I don't want police as a whole to go to the far end of the spectrum, to the point where we're always acting too late. Because it's preservation of life. That's what it's always been. So whose life are we preserving? We're preserving everyone's life. But at the end of the day, if we're put in the position where we have to choose between two, we're going to choose to take out the one who's threatening the other. That's really what it comes down to. But I'm seeing it more and more. I was actually just talking to a mutual friend of ours who referenced in the text with you earlier about a story where officers should have been acting and instead were cowering in a situation where they needed to act. Multiple officers.
Oh,
and
I know.
Yes.
Okay.
And this was years ago. This wasn't now. I think that number would be exponentially high of officers that would cower instead of act. And I guess there's a debate to be had of can you teach or instill bravery? How much of it is you're born with it, and how much of it can be trained? But I will say, I feel as though there's less and less of it. And be it whatever reasoning, I just think there's less of it, and I think that could be really bad for us.
You know the Spartans?
Yeah.
You know what they study their whole life? They study fear.
Exactly.
They study how it manifests in each of them individually.
Right.
They put themselves in places their whole life where they experience that fear and they're present with it.
Where they have to face it, yeah.
So that when they go into battle, they're not. They know their body. They might shit their pants literally,
but they can act in it.
Yeah, because
they can act through it.
They expected that.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah. So so in that vein, then
can we do that?
Well,
that'd be amazing.
In that vein, I do think the onus is on us as seasoned, be it a little bit of 8 years or 20. It's on us with the not even so much the experience, just the mindset, the perspective. Say, hey, incident's over. Okay, let's talk about. I know we do this, but I mean, it doesn't happen near enough. Of like, okay, yeah, what you did, you were fine this time, but this is why you need to be doing this every time.
Yeah.
And I have those conversations. We all have those conversations with P1s, but I feel like you really have to have those conversations with T2s as well. But it's just it's a complacency, it's a lack of awareness, and I believe a lot of it is a lack of training coming from the entire training process from the time they get hired. And I think, it's just too lax. It's too lax, and that's going to come back to bite us.
Yeah, I found myself trying to recircuit a probationer's mindset on our relationship with violence.
Yeah.
I was almost surprised that I had to do so much of that.
Yeah.
Like, what'd you think? You think game over and then you get another life?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
It was interesting, but there's I don't know. I don't want to say, oh, in my day, it just seems like you're a different mentality these days. I think a lot of it is really pressure from non-experts, the people who we protect. So like a lot of my family, I don't want to say is anti-police, but if it wasn't for me, they'd probably be.
Yeah.
And if I try to explain some of these things to them, they'll say, okay, I accept it because you're you, but I stopped trying.
Yeah.
Stop trying because they won't. They don't want to. And I don't know, is that a battle that needs to be a personal battle I need to deal with? It's more headaches than anything.
I mean, here's the deal. I know you're on the same page as me. I wouldn't do this job, and I wouldn't stick around to do this job, and I wouldn't do it for 20 plus years of my life if it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
It makes sense to me, and it serves a purpose. The way I was taught makes sense to me. The way I do it makes sense to me. The way other people do it, a lot of times, does not make sense to me. So for me, you just got to, what's the disconnect?
Yeah.
To me, the disconnect is perspective. What is their perspective on it? Their perspective on it is, I'm just here to serve. I think the protect part is there, but
you talking about popos, cops?
Yeah, newer. I think it's serve, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and
also,
I don't want to make the wrong move.
If you look at recruitment, they're selling fluff to just try to get these numbers. So,
like the reason why it's so clear for me to see it is because I was in the military. So even coming from the military, I thought the department lacked structure. I thought the academy had a good amount of structure, but I could also see all the weaknesses in the academy. And then coming over to patrol, doing probation in Northeast, they actually have a ton of structure. When I was there, I've heard it's changed a lot, but they had a ton of structure. They had a lot of tradition. And I questioned some of it, but most of it, well, first of all, I questioned it, but I didn't voice it. Second of all, it all made sense to me, and it all served a purpose. But we have gotten away from a lot of the tradition and structure, and I think it's I don't know what the percentage is, but definitely I would say less than half of it is good and more than half of it is bad. Yeah. I think getting away from the stigma is good. Yeah. Getting away from certain traditions is good, but for the most part, like, there's a reason why I think when you're learning, you should keep your mouth shut. I think that's actually a tool that is extremely beneficial to people, and we're missing it because the more you're talking, the less you're hearing and the less you're seeing, and that's how you learn. And there will always be egos, so for as long as the department's been around, I'm sure there's people who just don't listen because they have an ego. But for the most part, that was the smaller percentage of people, and now it seems to me that the majority of people, especially once they get to me in phase 3, I have to have a conversation with, or these new P2s, I have to have a conversation with them of like, look, this is why you shouldn't be complacent, and this is what it's going to get you into. And some of them are humble enough to hear me out, but some of them are not, and I think it's going to get us in the wrong place.
That culture building and actual leadership, you know, it's so intriguing to me. I don't know. I wish I wanted to promote more, because I think but I don't. I think if I wanted to promote more, I don't want it to be higher. I would change shit.
I think it can happen in one of 3 ways. Either it has to happen from the very beginning, through the entire training process like it used to. It has to happen from the highest levels of leadership and bleed down, or it has to come from a wall of people in unity. Of small, what we used to call in the military, small unit leadership. That was the ranks between the people who are running the show and the people who are being told what to do. That would be a field training officer or a senior officer. Those people that, if they come alongside each other and agree that this culture needs to change or else. But that's, out of the 3, I think that's the hardest route to take, because there's a lot of people that want to do things their way. And even if it's only a few people, it's enough cracks that once they're around certain people, it kind of really goes against the flow of what we're trying to do.
I think leadership is a choice in our department, and I think the way it's set up, it does not foster, you know, good soil for leadership.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of good leaders who do shine, but I think there's even more good leaders who can't, just because the position doesn't allow them to, because the way system's set up. So that's my viewpoint, and very narrow. Like, this has been my whole world, right? So that's all I know. How does that viewpoint compare to, I might be wrong, but how does that compare to a military rank structure when it comes to, like, actual leadership in the military rank structure versus our department?
Yeah.
Or any department.
Yeah, so in the military, again, instant obedience to orders. So I was a sergeant. I made the rank pretty fast. I zoomed up the ranks, which, by the way, those promotions were almost exclusively merit-based, which was nice.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Chosen by peers? No.
By a score.
By a score.
By a score based off of objective tests.
Got it. Wow, interesting. Okay.
You'd get like evaluated. I think it was quarterly. I think you get quarter evaluations by people who you work for. But there was very little room for favoritism or anything like that. So that part is very different. And obviously that goes against much of certain promotions in the police department, but that's across the corporate world as well. A lot of times corporate positions go to people that don't necessarily deserve them. That's another...
It's hard to isolate the human part of all this, right?
Yes.
But
so that's as far as promotions, but as far as like When I would say, hey, we're gonna go here and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this at this time, everyone was gonna be there. And if they weren't, then there would be severe consequences. So I had discretion as the one in charge of how severe those consequences were. But once they were enacted, there wasn't much of a appeal system. That was it. You violated this rule, now I'm going to hammer you. So, and that was throughout all the ranks. So just one rank above that rank, that's the person that's giving you orders. So should our paramilitary style be a lot more stringent? No, I don't think it should be as strict as the military for a few reasons. However, the way it was when I joined, I think it was better. Now, I'm sure everyone says that every time ever you ever interview. In the police department. Yeah. Oh. I'm sure they all say the same. Well, back in my day, that's where the back in my day phrase always comes out. But I guess time will tell, but I definitely believe there's good changes and there's bad changes, but it's not the good changes that we're addressing, it's the bad changes. So you gotta ask how the bad changes happen to begin with, and then what are we gonna do to address it or fix it or change it? And by we, I mean really all of us. Leadership can affect change, but I think, and this is gonna sound corny, but it's the truth, you don't need anything on your shoulders to be a leader. You don't need rank. You don't need time, as much as time is good to have. You don't even really need experience, as much as that's huge too. You just need to be able to know what the task is and be confident to get the task done. And you could debate all day about what it takes to be a good leader, the qualities and traits and all that. But I really think a leader, I think that's one of the biggest differences between the military and police is that, like for me, I don't have rank, and yet I'm a leader. But that's because I'm driven. I'm driven, and I have a certain amount of integrity and dignity that I work with. I have a certain work ethic, and I have a certain degree of care for my peers that I want to see the job done the right way, both for their preservation and the preservation of the public.
I wish that was taught from the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know how you teach that though. That's why it goes back to what's taught, or what's taught, what's learned, and what comes in nature. I really think, however you get there, it all comes down to perspective. My personal perspective is I'm not going to wait for someone to tell me what to do. I should already know what I need to do. I'm not going to wait for someone to run towards that gunfight. I'm not going to look around. There's an old phrase that says, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? That's one of the phrases that I live by, and I think you live by that phrase, and you're driven to be a leader. I don't need rank to live by that phrase. I don't need rank to be a leader. So, but that's just perspective. It's not like I was born living by that phrase. I've kind of worked through the years, kind of came into that type of person, that type of leader. But I mean, I don't know. Can you teach that? People either have it in them, or they. No, you know what? You know what? Like you said, you got to have the want. Yeah, it's the want. It's what's driving you, and where is it driving you. The why, you can get into the why. It's going to be different for every person, but what's the want?
It's all culture building, man.
Yeah. So I really do think you can inspire people, because there are leaders that have inspired me. I've been inspired by people. I know I've inspired people before. Yeah. I find you to be an inspirational person.
Huh. I don't do much. But thanks.
I think in a way it can be taught, but I don't think it could be taught on a slideshow. I don't think it can be taught from a program. I think inspiration is more of a, hey guys, follow me, like you're leading from the front. That's inspirational. Now you can give a motivational speech, but if you're motivating people here, but everyone knows who you really are, and they don't respect you, then you're not going to lead anybody anywhere. You're not going to teach anybody because no one respects you. If they don't respect you, they won't learn from you. So I would say maybe is figuring out how to inspire people. I think that goes a long way. So there's positive reinforcement, there's negative reinforcement. The military does a lot of negative reinforcement. Okay, you're not going to do this, then this is what's going to happen to you. Oh, the person to your left isn't going to do it, then I'm going to punish you as well because they're not doing it. And now you're inspiring the person next to you. Hey, man, let's do this because I'm sick of having to do push-ups for you.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be very like a designed way to go about it, right? So it's not just because.
Right.
I think that's fine based on the purpose of a military person.
Right.
Right.
Whatever it takes to inspire the people to your left and right.
I'm thinking now that maybe what's happening is we have been watering down the role of a police officer. Maybe we're too many roles to make an outsider viewing us happy.
What do you mean?
All the hats we wear.
Yeah.
Like, that's just part, like, you're not going to get away from that. The expectations, what we try to show the public that we, of the stuff, what we do is like a whole, but look at everything we do.
Yeah. We wear 1,000 hats.
Yeah, we're social workers, we give stickers to kids, all this stuff.
Here's an interesting thought.
So that waters down what the primary focus is, and that just snowballs into just like we just lose sight of what we're supposed to be good at. I'm talking about the tip of the spear.
Here's a thought for you.
You know,
do you think we should be feared?
Yes.
By everyone?
Healthy levels, yes. So even, let's say, the worst evil that exists doesn't, and now you have cops just for traffic violations because that's the world we live in.
Right.
There should be some fear of like, oh, I don't want to get a fine.
Right.
Because if not, people are just going to run amok, and there's accidents. Like, there's a purpose for tickets and
right.
stuff, right?
Right.
I hate giving them.
Right.
I don't give them much.
Right.
But that's fear being policed. Yes.
Can you be feared and engage in community policing?
Can you be feared and engage in community policing?
And by community policing, more specifically, I mean community engagement.
Well, we're trying to do that now. We just separate the roles.
Okay, so in a perfect world, community engagement would be what? You're best friends with everyone in the community?
Like the senior lead officer.
Okay.
Right?
So everyone's best friends with you. Do they fear you?
But so if the regular citizen, law-abiding, right?
Yeah.
Even me, when I'm driving the freeway, if a CHP is coming to my left, coming hot, I'll look straight down to my speedometer.
And your heart rate elevates.
Maybe. I don't. Probably if they pull behind me.
Maybe just a little.
Yeah, sure.
Even just a little.
But
you're not even doing anything wrong.
Right. But I look down. So
not to mention they're basically your coworker.
and it's like working at a movie theater, right? You go in to see a free movie.
Yeah.
Right? So you might not even get a ticket.
Yeah.
Might not.
Yeah.
But like even if they pull you over, right? So that perk. But even then, I look down at the speedometer, like just to make sure.
Yeah.
Is that fear? Do you?
Yeah, that's fear. That's fear.
Then, yeah, there has to be for sure. It's like a parent and child discipline. Every child wants. They don't know. What
are you afraid of?
What people are afraid of, I think doesn't matter. I think that you could give fear a lot of different names, right? You give it like respect for the law, you give whatever, but it doesn't matter what that is. If it's a grandma's like tries to hold the cops, I get nervous. People do.
So what happens when they? I know this has turned into me interviewing you, but so what happens when they stop fear? When the public does not fear the police, what happens?
Then innocence is no longer protected.
So chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, so it leads to chaos. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So if no one fears the police, it leads to chaos. It might only be 1% of the population committing the chaos, but that's going to lead to 100% chaos.
That's all you need. It is
yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
yeah.
1%,
right.
Because the other 99% are still scared, even though you're no longer scary.
Yeah.
They're still scared to do the wrong thing because they're trying to be quote-unquote good people.
Right.
Right? So that's my biggest problem with today's officers, be it their fault or not. Complacency in how they deal with what is a threat.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call a threat. A person that, a criminal, or giving someone your back, bad tactics.
Right.
So I really think that comes from a mindset of, I want to be friends with everyone. I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to get in trouble. So that's why I keep going back to that, because I feel that if you go further down that direction, if everyone, just like the other day in roll call, I don't think you were there, the Officer of the Year was named for our division.
I was at when they named it.
Okay. Named, and there was a superior officer and said to that Officer of the Year in front of many people, if I could clone you, I would. If I could make 12 people like you, I would. So you extrapolate that idea. You take the officers who are afraid to do anything for ABC reasons. They just want to be friends with everyone. They don't want to offend anyone. You take that officer and you clone them. Everyone's like them. Where's that going to take this department? To a really bad place, because no one's going to fear the department because the officers won't do their jobs, or they won't do them right. So that's where I feel like we're going until. But I also feel that everything is on a pendulum. Many things are on a pendulum. That's why you see politics swing back and forth, and now we're swinging the other way because we went too far to the left. Now it's swinging back to the right again, but eventually it's going to swing back the other way. So I'm hoping that many of the bad changes that have happened in the department will swing back to more of a military mindset, more of a we are here to protect and defend. We are also here to serve, but we're not just here to serve. And I think that's what most people.
I think that's just it's by default.
Yeah,
We're serving by default.
Yeah,
but you're thinking more protect.
I think people. Yes, I think the newer mentality is to serve.
Yeah.
That's it.
Primary.
That's it. You're to serve. Because if you were really there to protect, you wouldn't be hesitating. You wouldn't be complacent. Because if you're complacent and you're protecting, you're not going to see the ambush coming. You're not going to see the threat coming. You're not going to see the active shooter coming. You're not going to see the school shooter coming. You're not going to see the,
Yeah. That's an interesting clone comment.
Yes.
Interesting clone comment. Because I don't know if I would want to just clone one person. That's my vision of a good.
I wouldn't either.
You need to.
That's why I hated that saying. But
that
I hated that saying.
I feel like that if it came from somebody influential, it bothers me more.
Yes, it does. But
because demeans.
Yes.
Everybody,
absolutely.
And that shows. That doesn't show.
I'm not offended by much, but that offended me.
And that doesn't show an appreciation or an awareness of the different roles you need in a culture.
Yes. That's why you'll never hear me say, I wish everyone was like, you never hear me say that. What I do wish was cloned was perspective. Yeah. I wish perspective was cloned. I want personalities. I want different backgrounds. I want different everything. I want us to look different, sound different, walk different, talk different. That's all good. But we got to have similar mindsets.
Or at least like a 10 commandments of things that we can hate each other, but we agree on that.
Yes.
Like, I can hate this guy, but I know that we go out to work, at least we agree on this.
Yes.
Like, we don't have that.
No.
And that's something I've been working on a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's true. I mean, so if you value that perspective, then of course, like if you make a case for that.
Right.
And we have a team here creating these 10 commandments and then a patrol, let's say. and one of this perspective, and you make your case why, and they're like, yeah, it makes sense. Let's make that one of our 10 commandments for the next year.
Yeah.
You know, and then we'll reevaluate, see what happens. But we decide, not our sergeants, not our captains. We'll put that in our 10 commandments or 5 commandments, whatever it is. And then we have this string of things that you could hate my teaching style, you could hate my police work. Maybe I only do impounds and I ignore radio calls. Maybe I only do radio calls and I ignore good stops. Maybe I only do obs and now everybody's in my area now. You have all these things that we all hate about each other, right? And So, but if we all like have these 3 to 10 things, and we're like,
this needs to be done this way.
Now we're on this path.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to like each other.
Yeah.
You know, and we're very transient. We move around amongst in the department. So,
are you saying divisional wide? Are you saying department wide? Are you saying country wide? What are you saying?
No, just with us where we work in our station for now. But that concept could be used bigger. So I'm actually working on something to that effect. And
so you just want to get the commandments of what everyone's willing to subscribe to, and
not what everybody's willing to subscribe to, of what everybody, where we overlap, where people actually value.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. By subscribe, like you agreeing with it, like I agree.
So when you say like willing, I'm like, oh, you're trying to talk them into, hey, you should agree to this, but it's just like kind of like zero question. There's these 5 things that everybody here, many of us might not like each other, but we're pretty passionate about that.
So like, for example, I know you have many examples, but one of my biggest pet peeves is when specifically, it doesn't bother me as much. It does bother me when senior P2s do it, but it really bothers me when P3s do it.
Uh-oh.
When they smoke and joke with P1s.
Bro, I hate that. No.
In front of other people.
I hate that. I hate first name basis for some reason.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. That might be somebody's strategy at that moment for this person, right? Because I remember I told one of my P1s who was having a hard time really becoming a police officer in his mind, I said, hey, don't ever call me sir for the whole day. Call me partner. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, partner. Don't say yes, sir. Say Roger. Yes, sir. Roger, yes, sir. Right? Like, fuck. But, so what I forgot or didn't say was that here, when we're stationed, it's different. I want you to be out here and do it. So we're in overtime, and I'm telling the guy, do this, and he says something like, Roger, partner, or something like that. And there's another P2 there, and she's like, hey, I'm sorry, sir, to me. And she's like, how about you call him sir? And she's like, yes, ma'am. And I'm like, fuck. She's right. So I say that to say that if it's happening for that reason, you see it, that's different. But
what I'm seeing is not that.
Correct. Exactly. I just threw that out there for a little thing. But you're right. I hate that. I hate first name. Like, hey, Jimmy. Hey, Sally. Hey, how's your weekend? Like, I hate.
I will say though, like, and I understand the counter to it because I was a part of that system myself. It frustrated the heck out of me when I was a P1 and I was one of those P1s. You get them, maybe like a third of them, maybe a quarter, where you could tell in the first few weeks or months, like, oh, this person's going to pass probation. They could figure it out. I was one of those people. I still played the game anyway. I was humble. I kept my mouth shut. But my issue is I made P2 and they froze our entire class. So I was held 4 DPs over. And anyone who was senior and were following traditions still expected me to act like a P1, talk like a P1, walk like a P1. And in my head, I'm like, I already won. I beat the game. Yeah. Why am I still playing this game? Yeah. And I still played it anyway. And then that's when I started thinking to me, like, why are we doing this? Like, are we going off of the magic number of 18 months to finish probation? Right. Okay, fine. Before you're a P2, fine. But I passed that, but I'm still playing the game.
Yeah.
So then it goes back to what traditions make sense and what don't, right? Are you going to wave a magic wand and at 18 months, boom, I know how to do the entire job. Now I can stop, but now I can be salty, you know? So that's where certain traditions I'm willing to challenge, because like, what is the mentality behind it? To me, the mentality behind being a P1 and like they used to draw on the board, eyes open, ears open, mouth shut. The reasoning behind that is, even if you think you know what you're doing, you don't. Hear us out. We're going to train you how to do it the right way. We don't need your ego. We don't need your opinions. We don't need any of that. Just listen. When you've made it, you can have your own opinions. And by following that rubric, you're going to get yourself out of a lot of trouble.
Not get hurt.
You're not going to get hurt. You're not going to get your partner hurt. So that I get. But where are we drawing the line? Are we drawing it when you wheel out? Are we drawing it at 18 months? Are we drawing it when you've been blessed? So that's where that's one of the disconnects that drives me insane.
But I think the magic potion would be, we all have, let's say just with FTOs, we all have these 5, I'm just any number, 5 commandments. So now if there's someone, a training officer who's just like, whatever, I'm going to call this person by the first name, and we're going to smoke a joke because that's the way I roll, and I'm done. But that he or she did agree to, one of those that affects it, one of those commandments, and then they'll still kind of be aligned. There's still this alignment. Let's say one of them is, as an example, all P1s call all P2s Sir, Ma'am forever, even if they don't, right? So you could have this guy doing that, but then saying, hey, Frankie, Frankie, but then the second that P1 Frankie Hernandez calls a P2 by first name, then all us be like, whoa. What are you doing? Somebody who didn't even catch it, who's far, because we all know that alignment. I think that's a potion I'm working on.
Like for me, I think just like I played the game, just like you played the game, I think it should be the day that you pass probation, you can stop playing the game. And the reasoning behind that isn't necessarily because you don't know what you're doing, because there are P1s that know what they're doing before that mark. However, your job is still very much in jeopardy up until you get to that point, as we've seen time and time again. I know several, you know many more than several, of people who did not make it because they made poor decisions, and I really think it's because they let their ego get in the way. I'm a big shot, I made it, and I can do whatever I want now. So that's why I think we should encourage them to follow that.
I like that. Like
up until that point,
like a hard date.
Yes, a hard date. Once you get to the hard date,
playing that game,
and if you keep getting extended, then your hard date just got pushed out. Pushed out. You still got things to learn. You still got to correct this, and it goes back to why it's so important to document and extend people when they're not getting it. Because if we don't fix these mistakes now, then when you hit that magic number, it's basically a magic number. You're seen as one of us. You're expected to be able to handle your own and look out for your partner 6.
And I feel like it's weird. I know the department tries to get rid of tradition, and I feel like that's when they should get their pin. And then we could go like this to their hair. Oh, what's up, dog?
Yeah.
But before them, like, but we're not on the same page at all. So how do you, I was getting P1s and I wasn't reading on their P1's book what I saw, or no one was reaching out to me and saying, hey, this person needs help here.
It just, the thing is too, is it absolutely starts 100% starts with the P3s. Because when a P1 gets to me and he's calling me, hey, O'Brien, and that's happened to me a few times. Where did that come from? It had to come from prior to me. There's no way they just, I passed probation, I'm going to call everyone by their last name. No.
I don't even like saying Sarge or LT. And our current LT, I was partners with her. I don't say LT, I say Lieutenant last name. That's just me, is that, if I put that as an option for the 10 Commandments, my little idea, is everyone going to agree? No, probably that's not. Fine, that's me. But and that's not one that I expect to have on there.
But you're still, there's still respect in there. Hey, LT, that's respect. It's respectful. It might not be the formal respect, but it's respectful.
That's just very me. So I don't see people who do that and be like, what the hell? No, but that's just a small example of things, But I like that kind of that date.
Yes.
That line. You could be the worst, but you made it.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's help you out on a different level here.
But if we're following that, and that's a tradition that's obviously almost always been around, besides the example I gave you where I was still treated like that 4 months after I passed that mark, which is ridiculous. But I had one guy didn't talk to me for a few years because I think I like grew my hair like even shorter than it was like this, and he didn't talk to me for the rest of my probation. Are you serious, dude? I'm a P. Like I'm a P too.
I'm just kidding.
Like I still wouldn't start any conversations. I still was never on my phone. I still wouldn't talk to it. But that little detail drove him nuts, even though I had already made it. He's like, well, you have wheeled out, so you're a P1 plus. And I'm like, all right, man. Like, so
now, let's say like we sit down at this meeting and everybody in our station says they stay bald to the end, which you can't make them do. But it's an example. Stay bald until you leave, right?
Which is something that I had to do. Well, I had to do it until I passed probation.
But let's say you were in a place where they all agreed to that. So it wasn't just that one, right? Everybody's like, no, you can't.
Well, the problem with that one, the reason why we can't agree to it is because you can't enforce it.
Yeah, I mean.
So I think it only makes sense to
expectations.
Agree. Yes, I think we should only agree to things that we can enforce. It's very easy to enforce while you're here, and it comes from the very first P3, your second P3, and your P3. While you're here, this is how it's going to go.
It should be a mix. Maybe we should recognize what's enforceable and what's not. Because if we say one of them, again, these are just silly examples. You shall call everybody sir or ma'am. They don't have to. How are you going to enforce that? It's paramilitary.
Yeah, but it's more cultural and less personal than a haircut. You know what I mean?
Cultural,
especially because personal. Of like the Crown Act.
Yeah.
Because of stuff like that, you know, it's like,
I think where it's the low-hanging fruit that we're talking about here, it'll make more sense once
I feel like how you... Because, okay, so we're going to go down that road, extrapolate it. Why can't I just call the lieutenant by his first name in roll call? What are they going to call that?
Yeah, where in our policy says you can't call them by their first name in roll call?
You know what I mean? So that's more cultural to me. That's your culture.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to call people by their first name. Okay, stand by. Well, is that a threat? No, I'm just telling you.
Oh, now we got lawsuit galore.
You know what I mean? So it's just one of those. It's just one of those things like cultural. If everyone's doing it, if everyone's doing it,
this is helpful because this is not going to air until probably like late January, February.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna have it set by then. But I'm working on a training day for FTOs. And I want to come up with a list of commandments that we all agree on. We don't have to like each other. And I think about those things that you're talking about. You know, like, well, culture, what can you enforce, this and that, and should.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're either creating or you're reinforcing the culture. So,
or even we could have stuff that are enforceable and not in culture. Just know that that's what we all value together.
Yeah.
So we can't make someone keep their hair bald. Maybe we shouldn't.
We're gonna try, but we're not gonna push it as hard as A, B, C, and D.
Right. Or maybe we shouldn't even make them feel bad about it. We should just hey, here we really gotta do this because this.
Yes.
Like, hey, if there's 20 cops that are sending people to different rooms, and I see 4 bald, they're probably
obviously we can enforce grooming standards.
Yeah.
The other day, I saw not 1, but 2 DP1 or 2, I don't know which.
P1s?
P1s with no tie bars, both of them. I called them both out. Come here, guys. Why are you walking around without a tie bar? No one else said anything to them, not even the P3s. And their answers were pretty bad, and the next time I saw them, they had tie bars on. Took me 15 seconds.
I had recently a P1. He's actually a really good P1, very humble. I think he had a brain fart, or I don't know what happened, but he had his tie bar on, his tie unclipped and down. And we're switching watches, and I'm like, hey, your tie's down. Oh, yes, sir, I know, sir. I don't know what happened. Maybe he got a cut or something. Who knows? All right. And then another P1 tells him, hey, your tie. Stop being salty. He's like, oh, I'm off the clock. I heard him say that. And I'm like, oof. I'm tired, but I can't let this go. It's going to bug me. I could take some people's approach, which can work. yell at them, embarrass them, and I'm like, I got to take this differently. So let me talk to you. Let me talk to you, son. I'm like, I don't know your background, your military, your family, the job, you know, maybe family guideline. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter at this point, you know. And I'm like, a patrol copper's uniform, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're out there humping. We could get overtime for 4 days in a row. And if your shoes are scuffed and if it's silver because you haven't taken to cleaners, we're in the trenches. There's some things you can control, and that tie's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And forget that you're a P1. You know what I value of this uniform. Mm-hmm. You don't have to value, but I'm gonna give you my opinion, and you move forward however you want. And I'm not gonna go talk shit about you to anybody else. But I wear my tie and I wear my uniform a certain way because people have died for this uniform. And I hope that you could value that and not do that again. And if you continue to do it, I'm not going to talk shit about you. You move forward with your career. But that's why I hope you do that. Yeah. And he's like, yes, sir. And he's never done it again. Yeah. He's a good kid, you know? So,
yeah, and there's a good chance that had you chewed him out, it wouldn't have done him any good. It would have just made him not respect you.
Yeah.
But by taking the route you took, you put a little more thought into it. Yeah. You probably thought to yourself, how would I want it done to me? And it worked. It might not work every time, but it worked that time.
Yeah.
And if everyone had that mentality of coming alongside you, I've preached about this several times, how much it drives me absolutely insane when people chew me out and it is a monologue. Why are you monologuing me? I'm a grown man. I've been, regardless of how many years I've been doing this, but okay, I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm a grown man. Why are you monologuing me? Why is this not a dialogue? If it really upsets you that much, don't you think I should have a voice? Isn't that one of your tenets of procedural justice?
Whoa, someone's ready to promote here. Yeah. This is a very involved culture we're in, as much as we try to be apart from it.
Yeah.
And, you know, life is short, so enjoy the ride here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enjoy the fucking ride, man, because you know, everybody's retired. You know, all we have when we get old is our memories are our currency. Memories are going to be more important than money, unless you're starving. But memories over money brings happiness when you get older and older and older. And that's kind of, I'm just trying to make as many memories as I can.
Well, you also have your legacy and you have your mark. So to me, they're similar, but they're kind of two different things. To me, your legacy is either when you retire or when you're gone.
Who decides your legacy?
Oh, you do.
Are you sure?
Yes. So
isn't it the audience that decides that, like the market?
Okay, what legacy you're trying to put out there? Let's put it that way. So I believe it's what you're going to be remembered by or for. Often you can do 100 things right and they're going to remember you for the one thing you did wrong. But nonetheless, you're trying your best to have a certain legacy. But I think your mark is how you made everything better.
Yeah.
How you made everything better, how you help progress, how you help better those around you, and how you help better the system so that the next people that come through the same system will be a better product than you were when you came through. Yeah. So it's the same thing with your family, you know. But career-wise, I'm just talking career-wise, any career, your legacy and your mark, and yeah.
So, what's the mark?
That's what I'm saying. I feel your mark is how you made things better. How you made it.
Just specifically, you mean? Like specific things you did.
Yeah. Like, your legacy might be that you were tactically sound, you were professional, and you bettered everyone around you, and you put thought into everything.
Yeah.
Right, just off the top of my head, your legacy. Your mark might be... Chris had a knack for bringing everyone together in unison, better, not just bettering, but establishing the culture and making it better for the next people to come through it.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what, that's huge. I don't remember how I got to that point, but...
I don't know. When we re-listen to this to edit, it's going to be like, what the heck are we talking about?
Well, my problem is, the reason why you have to keep me on point is I love rabbit trails.
That's all right.
I will rabbit trail all day.
You should rabbit trail with coffee instead of whiskey, though, because I gotta drive. So
Yeah.
I'm purposely drinking slow. I'm drinking slow. Cool, man. So free will. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna go there. Cannot go there.
That'll be a very long conversation.
No, man, this was good, dude. Like, I know you have a long drive, dude. But this was cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been wanting to talk to you off duty anyway.
Yeah.
We don't mic up.
Yeah.
And actually, while we were talking, there's a bunch of shit I wanted to say that not appropriate for just sharing.
Of course.
But we'll talk off mic.
Yeah.
We'll talk off mic. Dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
I want to meet Lyra.
Yes. Anytime you find your way up in Timbuktu, let me know. I also have a really good food spot. You could try a few good food spots.
I'll go east of Hoover. I'll go visit.
Yeah. Just a little bit east of Hoover.
Do you know or want to dedicate this podcast to any fallen officers or even military?
Yeah, it's going to be for Fernando Arroyos.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually didn't know him that well, but based on the amount of times I've seen and heard about his girlfriend and family, that tells me he must have been a special person.
Oh, yeah.
That and, I mean, realistically, it was the first one that I really felt any type of way about. But I just, I really think it says a lot about a person, who they surround themselves with, and what they have to say when that person's not around. So I haven't heard a single person ever say anything bad about him, present or after. My only experience with him when he was around, I kept thinking he was a P1 because he was extremely humble, professional, very professional, barely said a word. And then I was like, wow, this guy was a P2? And that amazed me. So, yeah, absolutely for him and his family.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.